Welcome to Gem Collections with Shawn. I am Shawn, and exciting. That's all I can say. Anytime I am in front of a lot of rocks and minerals, or even just a few rocks and minerals, or even standing in front or on a gravel road. And I say that because a home that I lived in here in Forsyth County had, and there's still a lot of roads here in the South that are still gravel, and it was a gravel road. And I used to actually walk or even drive if I saw the gravel trucks coming into the neighborhood, because one good thing about the county, if you had and that's Forsyth County, I'll give them credit what credit's due. If you have a washed out road, if the ditches, what they call, need to be pulled, in other words, the ditches that go along the gravel road are eroded out or full, and you call the county up. And I lived on two homes, one that on Lake Lanier that had a gravel road, and then another house near there in the same community had a gravel road. Either one, if I called the county up and tell them, just explain, hey, I need the road to be graveled, or I need it graded, or I need the ditches pulled, it would be at the most the next day. And if it's raining, then, the day after. They would be right out. And so, remember, I think it was last week I was talking about, how I wished one of the people I knew would have been, in life, or that I should have grown up to be, would have been a lawyer or a car mechanic. Two very useful professions, it seemed, that needed. But the person I really wanted to know, besides having two brothers that had a crude yacht. Yep, their own. It was that big that it was crude. It was amazing trips. Oh, that was that was my Bahamas story that went along with the time that I found conch pearls in a community where I saw them. Actually, they were Bahamians, and they'd go out and they'd go conch fishing, I guess, and come back and then clean the conchs in the evening. And it was just this one small island, and it kind of looked like back in time. It was one that the other, just a very small community, and it only had a very small dock area, and not very many, really almost huts. But I went from one, but they had their little things out that they would sell. And so I went from one to the other, and everyone I asked if anyone had any conch pearls, and they all kept pointing back to this one particular place. So I made sure I checked it, and sure enough, this lady came out, and she had two very small, but so real and genuine. Here I literally was where they had been shelling the conchs, and removing the meat, was not more than maybe 150 feet away from where she was. And so they knew what conch pearls were and obviously looked for them. And it was really neat because we negotiated price, of course, and where she started was not where I finished, and where I started was not where I finished. So we met in a place that I felt like it was fair, certainly fair for her. And there was something about the ambiance of and the provenance of them and where I bought them that really added so much to it. And so going back to the person I wish I always knew was a manager or a general manager of a quarry. Not necessarily a mine or any of that, because then you get all kinds of legal stuff involved, but a quarry, a big open pit quarry. And I say that because there is two very close to me in the county. One, you wouldn't know it was there, except for the signs along it that say warn about the blasting, not to cross the fence. And it's right across from a major hospital that that is in the county that didn't used to be. And so if you look at it from the air, in Google, it's stunning how big it is and how deep it goes. And, I actually lived in the county for years before I even knew it was there. The other one is right down the road from me, the other way towards Cherokee County. And it just has a entrance. You can see the where they drop the gravel into dump trucks. And other than that, you can't see the quarry either. It's behind fences and kind of bermed up area because of blasting and how rocks can go everywhere when they do that. Back to the gravel roads that I lived on. And so I'd have them come out. So I would find the gravel road trucks because I knew the gravel was coming from one of these quarries. And if it was the right truck, because of the right time that the truck pulled underneath to be filled up with the crushing run, they call it. Maybe because timing would have been right about the particular area they blasted. And because it was mostly like a granite, but even with granite, you have lenses, dikes, sills, intersecting veins of solid material other than granite, such as feldspar. And once I discovered that somewhere, wherever the crushing run was coming from, there was a lot of peach moonstone and onto the cream colored end of the moonstone. And of course, I told you about the moonstone deposit I saw in Lake Lanier, which is another great moonstone deposit. So, and then I've showed you, and I still have it here, I'll bring it out maybe next week again, the huge crystal of feldspar that I had discovered at just a building site that I saw, but the ground had been excavated in a way that made me suspicious as to exactly what they were excavating for, because it wasn't being dug out for a basement. It wasn't big enough, and I could see it was kind of a sloped. You could tell by the tailings and how they pile out the tailings without actually going right up to it, kind of the stope. In other words, the angle to which that they were digging, because the further you go, the deeper the angle, the more dirt has to come out, and it leaves tailings of a certain size versus angle kind of thing. You see enough of them, you kind of know what to look for. And so I went on a weekend when no one was there, and there was no, I don't go against any signs. If it's posted, believe me, I told you about my experience with that. Don't go through posted or anything. So nothing like that. And so I pulled in and up there, and sure enough, if someone knew the bulldozer had hit, or the excavator had hit some type of a rock deposit. And that was the other thing. From the road, I could see other colored rocks. So I knew they hit something. And they followed it. And hoping, I think, to hit something more or different. But, that's, they're on the front lines. Bulldozer operators that clear these, especially in the right part of a geographically and geologically important area, the odds increase. And, so when they are clearing these subdivisions, which in this county they are doing at an alarming rate, and of course, some of the largest and most well-known gold deposits are within just a couple miles of where I live. And major ones, including the Dahlonega Gold Rush, is like only 20 miles from where I live. So there's every chance when they clear a new terrain for a subdivision that they could break into one of these old shafts. I happen to know one that goes right underneath Highway 369, a major artery up here. And all the locals describe it as what they knew it was, as being a pyrite mine. Well, I think if you hadn't heard the story, I'll tell it another time. But so I checked it out. It's deep in the woods. This one is another hunt club, not the old Beryl and Mica mine that I'd gone to, but this was one I tracked down, and they had poured huge concrete stanchions. And so just by knowledge and experience and history, I knew what they were there for. They were the anchors for it had to be a 45-degree incline or decline into this giant pit that the entrance to the shaft they were following had long since eroded in. But what it was for the steam engine to pull up the ore carts up and down the track system, that now the vein drops down and goes underneath a major highway. And if you, of course, I would love to just have the money to just and access freely go in and dig back out the entrance, because when these mines shutter, close down, they don't backfill miles of tunnel or however long, and some of them extensive workings. We have no idea what it really looks like. All we see, most people, is just this little entrance into the side of a hill, mountain, etc. And there is, like out in Idaho Springs, out in Colorado, I actually saw the cutaway diagram of the mountain that's right behind there, of a really famous gold mine. And it looks like an ant farm, that you got as a kid, the little plastic ant farm, and all the little tunnels everywhere. Every bit like that. And it was common in the old days to it was hard to track exactly where you were boring and mining. And it was often you'd break through into the shaft of another mine belonging to someone else. And that would always cause consternation and jumping claims, But so the Peach Moonstone, once I was on to that, there was a quarry that would hit these these moonstone deposits. Then I would start walking the gravel roads, and over many years, got all kinds of wonderful, wonderful moonstones, and tumbled them, and Georgia Peach Moonstone. It's easy to prospect and find, from when the lake's down in the canoe along the edges of a lake to as simple as walking a gravel road. Because again, it's only coming from two quarries, and I can assure you, especially after a rain, when all the dust is off and you can see it, moonstone, remember the adular blaring off the road, easy pickings. So again, rock hunting and prospecting is sometimes no more further away than the end of your driveway. And if your driveway is just crushing around as well, it may be as far as walking out your front door. So, okay, my little beginning diatribe, I don't know where I get off on these things, but there is 6 continents of stories and tales and experiences I've had, culminating from the age of 11 to my current age of 63. If I don't remember them and repeat them, I'm doomed to forget them, especially as each year passes. So it's good for me to go back. But, that's why I start going back on one memory and I sidetrack on another memory and another one. And anyway, it goes on. All right, let's get to the trivia and to the comments. First, let me repeat the questions to the trivia from last week. We had, the first one, including the table. And of course, we've talked about a gemstone And everyone really needs to know the primary parts of a gemstone, as far as what they're called. Even really if you only know 4 of them. The table being the big, large, flat facet on top. Then there's the crown, which is everything above the outer circumference. So if you look straight down on a stone, you see the outer shape of it. That outer edge that you're looking at is called the girdle. Everything above the girdle part, okay, the part that creates the dimensions, is called the crown. Above the crown is the table. So that covers the top half of the stone. Now, starting with the outer rim, which is either faceted all the way around, which is a really nice way to do it, especially if it's a diamond. So that's called the girdle, and everything below it, in other words, the angles inward, that is called the pavilion. And if it's an old enough diamond, you'll have what's called the culet, which is the point. You still have a culet to a stone if it's not a flat facet across it. A lot of people just don't know it as that unless it is talking about a European cut diamond, which is where it used to kind of drive me crazy, but I could understand why. When my clients, I'd be showing them the different types of diamonds, and they'd look down through a European cut, and they say, "What's that hole in the middle?" And man, that's what it does look like, because you know what? I don't understand why they ever thought that that was a good idea. Of course, you have the flat table here, right at the top, and then at the very point, what should be a point, they would just flatten it off. And the older you go back, like to the old mine period, the larger the culet facet got. So it was even a bigger looking hole. And of course it would be and look like a hole because it's a window. That word that a gem cutter is totally insultive if someone looks at your beautifully cut stone and says, well, that'd be nice except for the window. And then, you go, wah, 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 because you failed. You failed in cutting it to the proper angles so it would not window. Now, sometimes the depth of your material doesn't lend itself to that, and you do the best you can working with what you have, because you certainly don't want to take the dimensions of a stone so far down that the proper proportions then would give you the ability to cut the stone to the proper angle so as to not leave a window. But on the diamonds, yeah. So finally, with the coming of the modern American Brilliant, which wasn't until the 50s, you had the transition cut, which pretty much almost or did close the culet up. But the transitional cut is, to me, very recognizable because they changed other angles, and it just has a certain look, other angles to the crown facets, and gave it a particular, and to the pavilion facets, a particular look that wasn't nearly as brilliant as only 10 or 15 years later when they came up with the modern American Brilliant, and they have not strayed from those particular angles since, really sticking with that. So everyone really needs to know those parts to any stone. It doesn't just apply to a diamond, it applies to any faceted stone. So you have the culet, which is the very point of the stone. And you talk about open culet means that there is a flat facet across there, which you'll really only find with diamonds. Then you have the pavilion, which is everything below the girdle, which is the outer circumference of a stone, the edge. In other words, the edge of any particular stone. That's called the girdle. It can be either polished, it can be just frosted, unpolished, or it can be faceted. And then above the girdle, you have the crown, which is the angles that go like that. So pavilions like that, the girdle, part that goes around, crown, angles in like that, table there. So starting from the top, table, crown, girdle, pavilion, culet. And with that, you can talk the talk. Now, your next lesson is going to be the names of the little facets next to the table, and then that's enough. That'll get you through 95% of conversations about the cut of a diamond, Okay, so we have the question that is relative to it, including the table. how many facets or faces does a full cut diamond have? And then the second part of the question was how many in a single cut? So with most any gemstone, you have what are called the mains. In other words, those are the facets that are cut to the proper angle on the crown and the pavilion so that light enters, bounces back off of the opposite sides of each other, reflected back out through the top. So the light enters the stone and back out through the top of the stone. And that's why diamonds and other stones can be set with a bezel around them and the back even enclosed, because a stone and diamond or diamond, if and when properly cut, doesn't need light coming in from the side. So many people think it does. No. With colored stones, it may matter by way of saturation of color, etc., but by way of reflected brilliance, especially when you're in regards to a diamond, no, you only need the light from above when done properly. So that becomes real important. So with the modern American brilliant, they have not strayed from that. You have 8 main facets going around the crown, 8 main facets going around the pavilion. Now on each main on the pavilion, you have those 2 other little facets that connect with the girdle. And on the crown, you have to each main 2 little facets that connect and touch the girdle, and then 2 facets that connect and touch to the table, and those other facets along the main that connect to the girdle. Don't worry, there won't be a test on that part. So what you have is 8 mains on the pavilion plus 2 facets to each main, gives you a total of 24 facets to the pavilion. On the crown, you still have those 8 mains. Now the mains again are very important because they are the ones cut to the proper angles. The others are adjusted to those angles from that particular angle. And that's how you get your different shape of whether you have a high crown or a low crown, etc. So on the crown, you have the 8 mains, you have those additional 16 that go next to the base of the mains and along the girdle, and then the 16 above it. So you have 16, 8, and 16. That would be 2 16 is 32, and then the 8 is 40. 40, add that to the 16 on the pavilion, gives you 56. And the table. 57 facets. Can't forget the table. So, proper number of faces or facets on an American round brilliant are 57. Now, if you want to do some comparison, just so you know, the proper, not the modified or any of that stuff, Portuguese cut round, Portuguese cut stone has 161. So, yeah, that's a lot more time and effort to do that, and it can make a amazing difference, and it's always easy to spot as a Portuguese cut when you do cut that many facets on it. So, how many are in a single cut? Now remember, the less number of facets, the less labor. It's actually better the smaller a diamond you have to actually have a single cut if you're looking for brilliance, because you take that little tiny size stone like a 1-point diamond and you put 57 micro facets on it, which they do, and no one facet is large enough, except maybe the table, to be reflected, to be visible, to create any kind of scintillation or brilliance, in my opinion. Any bit of dirt greatly reduces even that part of it. So, if you just had in a pave set piece in 1-pointers and whole pave plate of single cuts next to a whole pave plate set of full cuts, and I said, and you didn't know anything about diamonds, and I just said, which one has more flash, pizzazz, brilliance, scintillation, all those words, I can assure you 10 out of 10 would pick the single cut one, because it will. But that said, it's still if you're creating a higher end piece, full cuts are always the diamond of choice that are used, regardless of size. Maybe it's just because it's a monetary thing. It costs more, so you think it's better. Okay, so single cut diamonds, how many facets are on those? All you do is the 8 mains on the pavilion, the 8 mains going around on the crown is 16, and one more called the table gives you 17. So 40 less facets on a single cut. Those are actually 2 things you need to know about diamonds, round cuts. Now, the single cutting and the full cutting only applies to round brilliants. There's not a single or full cut applied to an emerald cut or a pear cut, pear shape, or any other cut, just round brilliants. All right. The second question was, name 3 minerals mentioned. Now, now remember, I don't do trick questions, but I've always told you it's really important to listen to the few words I do say for the question. Maybe and I do read it a couple of times. Name 3 minerals mentioned. That means that I mentioned. Name 3 minerals I mentioned that may contain REEs, or rare earth elements. Name 3 minerals I mentioned that may contain rare earth elements. Okay, now, I can see that some people may have gotten confused, like name 3 minerals I mentioned that could be found that might have rare earth elements. The meaning of my question was, name 3 minerals that I mentioned that I said contain, or most often contain, rare earth elements. So I'll explain in a minute. Let's get to the answers. First, we have a comment from Miss Jan B. So glad I got to see your show today. That crystal formation from that... Oh, that was where the questions were. Miss Jan B. still was the first one. Dear Shawn, I called Gem Shopping to order the selenite lamps right after you showed them to me. And Keith said it wasn't in the system and they were not available, as in somebody already got them. He told me to call you back, LOL, and tell you. I thought my name was on them. Wasn't meant to be mine, I guess. With a sad face. Thanks anyway, Shawn. Then Cindy in Pennsylvania says, hello, Rock Family. Wonderful show this week. Look forward to next week already. Trivia. 57 facets and 17 facets. Getting that right. The second part, zircon. And zircon was one of them that I said. Zircons often do and contain and may contain rare earth elements, and that's why you often have a radioactive signature to them. Lepidolite mica was another one that I specifically mentioned can and often does contain rare earth elements. Now, I mentioned a lot of other different minerals throughout the show, including all kinds of other things that I featured. Some, by a fluke or much more rare instance, could contain by chance a rare earth element, but are not known to have rare earth elements as part of their makeup in general. Everybody knows that zircon has a radioactive signature. They are known to have rare earth elements in them. Lepidolite is also known, if nothing else, it's a lithium mica, and lithium certainly needed for batteries, and along with that come other rare earth elements needed for those type things. Miss Cindy, on her third said morganite. Now, here's the catch. Morganite is one of the stones I mentioned. I think I even showed one that etched crystal specimen, and yes, by chance they may contain as a ultra low impurity cesium, and always has beryllium as part of their makeup. But beryllium is a strategic metal, but it's not considered a rare earth element. But yes, morganite could maybe contain one as a fluke by way of the cesium part. But it is not one that I mentioned as being known to contain rare earth elements. So in other words, during the show, I didn't say, and morganite is another mineral that can contain rare earth elements. No, because it's not known to be one of those. Can it? Yes, it can, by a real rare fluke that you might find a morganite with them, but it is not known to have them. And so it's not one that I would say morganite is a mineral, or beryl even, is known to contain REEs. So she goes on to say, wishing you all a wonderful week ahead. Cindy in South Central Pennsylvania. Miss Jan B writes again, I just got a call from Gem Shopping wanting to collect payment for my night lights. Thank you. I can't tell you how disappointed I was after hearing they were not there. But getting that call, I tried really hard not to get my hopes up. Then I screamed after I hung up. Made my day, Shawn. I have to ask, it's hard to imagine, but how the heck did you get your thumb all the way into your eye socket? Okay, that took an ugly turn. It's certainly a question worth, I feel embarrassed already. How ridiculously, I'm blushing on it, stupid it was. So I'm, shampoo, I'm washing my hair like this, right? And, like this, how we do with our thumb, right? Washing like this. And somehow, it was truly that motion, I will not forget. Shampoo and all, in a hurry, with full force of motion, just getting all that dirt and everything off that scalp, because I'm not too worried about losing much hair. The color's changing on me a little, but if I knock another hair or two out of my head, I think I'll be all right. So I'm going like this, and sure enough, if I didn't hear it, want a side view, go like this, and then right like that thumb goes into the corner of my eye, and actually the corner was better than directly in. I don't know. I might have popped it like a fish eyeball if it had gone straight. In the corner, it allowed the eye, I think, to push sideways, and I'll never forget that feeling of feeling the inner bone of the eye socket. It's amazing I didn't tear something worse. But here's the odd thing, and why there's magic to this show beyond even what I understand. I actually did it that Thursday morning. I get real early on the day I record the show, which again is today. Today's a Thursday. And then to do comments. And so I have a lot of work usually to do. And so that's when, and my eyes seemed fine except for the soap in it. We rinsed it out and I put some eye wash in it and I did the show, right? You got to see the show. It was fine. I could feel it starting to hurt when I was leaving, so I didn't drive home. Within 5 minutes of leaving Gem Shopping parking lot, I was so glad that Raven was driving. It started to swell up and hurt and become so light sensitive, and it was sunny and hot. I had to close my eyes the rest of the way. By the time I got home, I couldn't open it. And it wasn't long I couldn't open the other one. And I had, she actually, Raven had to help me around the house. I walked with a cane. It got worse the next day. She actually had to stay home from her job because at the time, that's when my phone crashed. She didn't want to leave me. I couldn't drive, so I would have been at home, not able to make a phone call, and not able to drive even if I could. It wouldn't matter. I couldn't have driven. So she didn't want to leave me in that position. And then it just got worse, went to the doctor. So anyway, that's how I did it, foolishly. And believe me, I'll never forget that as long as I live. Every time now I wash and rinse my hair. I think I'll start doing it with my knuckles. Just like cutting something. Curl your fingers back, shampoo in my hair. I need to curl those fingers back. Oh, here's the other thing. I had just, like I do for this show, cut my fingernails as I do. That's when I cut my fingernails every week, is on Thursday morning. And cut my fingernails, but hadn't done a hangnail that was on the corner of my thumb. So on top of jamming it in, there was a hangnail, scratched my eye. Not a pretty experience. So anyway, let's see. Okay. How the heck did you get your thumb all the way into your eyesight? Good question. I could see shampoo in there, but well, it's okay. I'm glad you didn't lose your eyesight. I completely understand that, especially for you. I just now saw my visitor, messenger from heaven, the butterfly. I believe it was Dennis checking in on me and Blondie. That's her dog. Anyway, Shawn, bless you for getting my lamps to me. Hugs from me and a Blondie girl. The butterfly is very important to a lot of different cultures for its meaning of life after death and resurrection. And you can see why, because of the just like the dragonfly, the meaning of it, because it comes from living in the mud as a nymph, and then what does it transform into? The same thing with the butterfly. So one of the greatest stories regarding that is, as many of you know, I'm a fourth Chinese. My mom was born in Shanghai, China. So my mom was half Chinese. My mom's mom was full-blood Irish. And my grandfather, or my mom's dad, was full-blood Chinese. Graduated, PhD from Harvard. Yeah, maritime law. He became a maritime ambassador. This was prior to communism in China. And he became very wealthy. Well, as a sign of wealth in China, you took on concubines or other wives. And remember, my grandmother, my mom's mom, was Irish, Catholic Irish. And even though she was number one wife, big honor, my grandfather had 6 others. And my mom still had to, she remembers her feet being bound as a woman, which caused you to walk behind and slow. There's whole reasons behind all that. So anyway, my Irish grandmother couldn't take that anymore. And so she moved with her 4 children, my mom being one, to the United States when my mom was 7. She was only 7 years old, could not speak a word of English, spoke Chinese, and the rest is history. She went on to become a drama major from a private girls' school in St. Louis. And that is part of why you see my hands doing all this very dramatic. And I think I got it from my mom. I have a picture of her standing next to Vincent Price, and she was quite an actor. I think she used it all of her life. But so much later, my Chinese grandfather lived to be quite old. He remarried, and he remarried a doctorate of acupuncture. So this was in China. So a doctor of acupuncture, and because after the communists took over my Chinese grandfather, because he was a politician, so to speak, and as ambassador, he was put under house arrest for the rest of his life. Eventually, when he was too old to harm the state, my wealthier aunts and uncles were able to get him to the United States. When he passed away, many, many, many decades ago, my what would be step grandmother, my grandfather's second wife, who was the doctor of acupuncture, they lived in a what they call a flat or an apartment in New York City. This apartment, they didn't have a lot of money. They were supported by my aunts and uncles. The apartment actually had no outdoor windows. The door opened onto a hallway. There was no open windows or doors to the outside on the hallway, and no fire escapes or anything in the way it was set up and described to me. It was 2 days after he passed away, and that after his cremation, she saw and witnessed the most beautiful butterfly was in their apartment. Absolutely no idea, and this is in, even if there was outer access, there was no trees, there was no bushes, they were high up, and no other means of it getting into that apartment. So, especially with their belief system, that couldn't have been a greater and better gift to her, to tell her that everything was fine with him, that he is in a fantastic transitioned place, and made it to the other side, wherever that may be. I think it is I know it's a true story, and I just wonder about those things. I wonder, how does something like that happen? So, straight from personal experience, so to speak, that's my butterfly story. And part of my culture, as far as the belief system goes, and certainly part of many other indigenous cultures around the world. So, another memory, thanks to all of you, brought up. And good one. Miss Gabby says, hello, one and all. Thank you, Shawn. I'm so excited to receive the barite specimen. If I hadn't won it, I would have definitely had trivia envy. LOL. I do have a blue Moroccan barite. I'm pretty sure it's one of the specimens that Summer painted for me. But this one is a very different formation, and I'm excited to receive it. It is totally different than those other ones. I think they're back behind me, a couple back there. The way the blades are laid out, the very minimal iron oxide around them, it certainly is a beautiful arrangement of barite crystals. I will give the rest of the rock family a little while on the etched peach morganite. Then if it's still there, I might have to add it to my etched collection. And you should, because price-wise, it's an amazing deal. The pink one with the green tourmaline tucked inside is still one of my favorite specimens that I have purchased from you. What a cool sugar geode that was. I noticed that little bridge before you said anything. Sweet. Funny how we rockhounds can get excited by the littlest things. But what can I say? Rocks just make us happy. Take care all and stay cool. Miss Gabby, boy, cool is right. It is a hot one down here today. The etching on certain minerals, some of them easy because it doesn't take much more than running water to etch and wash away some crystals. Others take a little bit higher temperature and a little bit of acidic water. Others, when you get into your items like the beryl family, it is a completely different type of environment it takes to etch those kind of materials. And so when you get one that is etched and still has facet grade material in it, it's gorgeous. The one Miss Gabby has, this one would go really well with it, is a pinker colored one. And what had etched out was a triangular shape where a tourmaline crystal is. So whatever had gone through the pocket was able, acid-wise, to etch tourmaline completely, and or at least partially enough for the tourmaline to fall out, leaving behind where it was. Well, crystals like to take the path of least resistance. So if another crystal, that's why you have healing with crystals. So a lot of the same material will actually put back together, breaks and whatnot in nature. Well, another tourmaline decided that that looked like a perfect place to try again. Had a triangular, trillion-shaped opening and everything, and there's another trillion tourmaline that had grown not completely all the way to the edges, but partially. And it was really a stunning, unique, unusual piece. One of those great ones that, I so enjoyed having it. But I'm so glad I know where it moved on to. But I so regret not having it to enjoy anymore. But I have lots of those pieces, or had lots of those pieces. Not as many as I do have, but it's so neat to know all of you are enjoying them as well, especially some of you amazing collectors, Miss Gabby being one of them. So speaking of, I wanted to mention this because I actually, for the last 2 days, have spent some time with that sapphire. Oh, yes. Sapphire and I have gotten very close. That actually used to be a nickname I used to call Raven. Anyway, no, the sapphire. And from now on, when I say the sapphire, we can just mean that refers to the probably, well, decent size, 11 by 9 or something like that, star light blue sapphire I have. Very transparent, except for a couple inclusions. One of them being an anhydro bubble that moves. Yes, it moves within what looks like a dissolved crystal that was terminated at each end. So it looks like a doubly little small version, doubly terminated Herkimer quartz crystal that has been cut, flat, basically on both sides, real thin. It has, so you have a gas, and then you have, which is the air bubble, the bubble in it, and you have the liquid. So it's a two-phase inclusion. Now, I have had them before where you have let's say a piece of carbon, you have the three-phase, carbon, gas, and liquid. Those are pretty neat, but don't see those too often. It's also a sign in this sapphire that it's never been heat treated. So a unheated, most amazing piece. So I'm thinking about actually selling it, and taking the money and putting it specifically towards something like my teeth. Either way, I'm learning about the bubble so that it goes somewhere. It's right at the top of the stone too. It's not even where you have to look down into it. So I'm actually need to bring it and play with it on camera so I know how to show it best, because there's a way I turn it and that little bubble goes off and hides somewhere. And I'm thinking, where can this bubble hide? It's right underneath the surface of the sapphire. It's not like a big piece of quartz where there's all kinds of fissures and stuff in places for the No, this is a cabochon it's right underneath the surface, and that bubble goes off and hides. I know which way to turn it, and then I don't look because it's shy. So I don't look at it. I turn it, I put it back in the little, I have this specific gem cup that turns it and holds that sapphire at the angle that I want it at. And then I just kind of walk away, let it think I'm not watching it. And I go back and look, and the bubble's back. But if I try to make it come back and I'm staring at it, holding it, shaking it, tapping it, which is all kinds of ways I've done before to get anhydro bubbles to come out, nothing. Shy. So when I finally study on it, so that if it goes away while I'm showing it to you here, I'll know how to bring it back quickly. Right now, it's not on a leash. Miss, let's see. So great comment there, Miss Gabby, and I'm glad you liked the barite. And yes, since you have the pink one. Oh, by the way, pink and peach morganites. Keep them out of the sun. At least keep the peach ones out of the sun. The word is, the peach ones, they'll keep the same amount of saturation, but the color will go from peach to pink if left in ultraviolet light, the sunlight. And it's not like they lose their color like pink apatites or kunzite can. It just changes to pink, which pink is the more expensive color to me anyway, and a more valuable color. So a lot of these people that bought their morganites and are wearing them because they like the peach color, well, if it turns to pink now, you will know why. You heard it here first. Miss Elisa. Hello, Professor Shawn, the lovely Raven, GSN crew, and Rock family. Shawn, that sugar quartz geode was awesome, wasn't it? We never know what you will have for us next, and that was proof. Great camera work, Dave. Yeah, if Dave was here, but he's not, so I'll give the credit elsewhere. Latif. He's amazing. He's here now, running. You know what? He did a show. Well, the show the other day, a couple weeks ago, where he did the camera and did the graphics, going back and forth, back and forth. Nowhere in the 16 years have I been here has cameraman or whichever side they came from to start with have I ever seen that done by anybody else here at Gem Shopping, or ever heard of anybody else doing both, going between the camera and the graphics. Camera, graphics. If we set the camera, yeah, for especially my stuff, you have to move it around and look at stuff. Yeah. He's a good man. My answer to this week's trivia is 57 facets full cut, 17 for single. Then the answer on the REEs. Which ones did I mention? Well, I think Miss Elisa tried the shotgun approach. She says zircons, scruderudite, lepidolite, mica, granite, and altunite. And I know that even more were mentioned also. We'll get to that in a minute. My favorite item of the week was the yellow lepidolite. Great description of phyllosilicate crystals as leaves of paper. When you said that, I felt like I had a light bulb moment. Thank you, Professor. Take care, everyone, and have a great week. So I see what all of you thought. You thought, what minerals did I mention that maybe could potentially be minerals that could maybe potentially have at some point in their life REEs? And it's more like, what minerals did I specifically say contained rare earth elements on a regular basis, is kind of what I meant. So, because a couple of you now have said some of the same things. So we'll finish and then we'll cover that. So, and back to the phyllosilicate part. Thank you for that comment about that, Miss Elisa, because that becomes real important. You will see that as a description it has to do with whether something ends up to be a phyllosilicate or not, with exactly the structural arrangement of the atoms, but we won't get into that part. But what you do need to know is exactly what you described, that a phyllosilicate is a mineral that will form and sometimes will look like sheets of paper and be so much so that you can peel them like mica. And we'll get to other phyllosilicates as we come across them, and I'll mention that to you as well. But I'm glad that was a help to you. Miss Barbara says, hi, Professor Shawn, Raven, GSN crew, and the whole Rock family. Another nice long show popping up at the 4:30 p.m. tea time hour. This week was all older opportunities we let go by the first time. It's always fun to watch you pour over your offerings and have seller's remorse. I'm sure if you could only see my real face when you're looking at the rock, there should be a split screen, and yeah. In your heart of hearts, you would love to keep them all, but then there wouldn't be a show or any toothy money. Nope, that's exactly right, because for decades, many, many, many years, I hung on to all those. And I have calculated now, since I started talking about that, in the 7 years I've been doing the podcast alone, I have sold, well, a year ago was 4, so at least 4,500 pieces. 4,500. Let's say 4,000. It's just easy to know. 4,000 pieces. And this is just in the 7 years. Now, you would say, well, that's no big deal. You just go, you buy some. No, that is 4,000 pieces I've sold without having set foot at a rock show. I used to go to every rock and mineral show that was here and around or within a couple hours drive. Every single one, sourcing, buying, doing business, and greeting a lot of people that recognize me, especially after having done the live show for all that time. I have not been back to one because I made a decision that I realized as long as I kept going to these rock and mineral shows, I was going to keep buying. And it didn't matter no matter how much I sold, I was going to keep buying. It's just one of those things. It's just, I have to have it, love to have it, gotta have it kind of thing. And I would stay broke. And now I'm still broke, but I have been basically, especially when COVID hit, thank goodness, because I lived out of my rock and mineral collection. It is what has carried me through. And, I also had no idea that I could sell 4,000 pieces and not really even notice it in the house. These are not 4,000 pieces that have been put up in boxes. No. They're, now some, granted, yes, but like the flats of stuff. No, 4,000 pieces that I've took off windowsills, that I've took off tables, that I've took off the top of the TV, especially the older one that was big. Anyway, anything that had a flat spot, it was funny. I didn't know. Oftentimes when I'm doing work, everything I spread out. I think I told you before, I do it on the bed. It's comfortable for my back, and I have the computer in front of me on a thing, and so I'm working away and have the printer off to my left, and have all my tools around me and all my stuff. Well, the cat, gets tired and lonely. The cat will come up and want to get on the bed somewhere it's used to, and I'll usually kind of make a place for it. But it is so quiet, cats, and I have a fan usually going, and maybe background TV or something. The other day, I didn't know when, but the cat apparently had jumped on the bed, and the only place that's ever available on the bed is right behind my laptop. So when I open my laptop, there's the screen. Right behind the screen, I always have a pillow there that's underneath. Maybe it's TMI, underneath the blanket for my feet. To put my feet up on, to elevate them a little at night. It just feels more comfortable. And so the cat found out long ago that pillow was underneath the blanket, and it was much more comfortable to lay there on top of the pillow. Well, the cat, when it lays on its side, it was actually an outside cat rescue. We rescued it. It took a long time. It was living off the woods, but yet we could tell it was a sweet, nice kitty. And so it didn't... it took a long time before it became just friendly enough that we brought it in the house. But the other day I was doing inventory, and I take the inventory and I set it on the other side of the laptop's top, right? Because it's the only space usually available. So I just kind of set it on the other side. So I'd been doing this. Next thing I look, the cat was covered in bags with my inventory in it. And the cat won't move. No, it doesn't care. It is a cat, and it is not spooked or anything. I just could not help but just die laughing. I needed that laugh that day, and that certainly provided me with it. It was the funniest thing. So here's the cat covered in, so that's what I'm saying. If you are a flat spot in the house, you sit there long enough, there's going to be a rock or mineral on you. Cat found out the hard way. So it was pretty funny. Now, Miss Barbara goes on, read about the azurite and malachite dance for supremacy. It seems one or the other becomes stable depending on the ambient carbon dioxide concentration. So as conditions change, one or the other becomes stable and forms, thus all the alternating layers. Cool. Thanks for that, Miss Barbara. I didn't know that. I hope Miss Jan got her selenite lamps. Have no idea why they almost assigned them to me. I didn't order them. So I pointed customer service in her direction. See, the great thing about the community conversations we have here, Miss Barbara knew that Miss Jan was the one that wanted the lamps. Not sure why they called you either, Miss Barbara. But the magic of the show allowed them to make it to the right person. As to the trivia, full cut diamonds, 57 facets, single, 17. The minerals you mentioned in relationship to REEs were lepidolite mica, zircon, Scooby-Doo, right? In other words, Scooter-Doo-Dite. Scooby-Doo, right, of course, is the Raven's nickname for it. And morganite. So another person said morganite. Hoping for cooler weather and more than just the promise of rain. Guess our heat island effect is working overtime this summer. Yuck. Take care, all. Barbara from Brooklyn. It has been at least raining here almost every day, but it has gotten really hot and really muggy. Okay, so the actual answers were specific. They were zircon to the REEs. They were lepidolite / mica. I would have accepted either one of those. And the third was granite. So those were the three minerals that I know I directly associated with having REEs. Now, if I mentioned morganite, I definitely did not mention it as far as known to contain REEs. If I mention altunite, well, it, of course, contains a really big known one, but called uranium. So I wouldn't have mentioned that as having REEs. That would be a known item there. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to pass on any winners this week. And I'm going to make sure that I word my wording, I guess, a little bit more specifically, because there would have been, 3, 4 winners, and I didn't know how to exactly handle that. So I'll make up for it next week. You'll enjoy whatever trivia prize there is. Keep sending in those answers or comments, whether you have anything to say. Talk about the weather. Now, this, out of all those thousands of specimens, and you know what? I think out of even the 7 years of doing the podcast show and the 9 years of doing the live show, I don't know if I have ever shown one of these yet. I think a lot of you are familiar with them. Pyrite suns, they look like sand dollars, don't they? For a long time, it was thought to be a fossilized type of plant that they had not figured out exactly what it was. As a matter of fact, you can even still, when you research these, find some of the articles that say exactly that, because that's what I found. I found where some mentions were that the origin was still unknown, and others said it was a type of plant that hadn't been exactly figured out yet. But the true science centers have it right. What this is, okay, it is pyrite. They are called pyrite suns. They are from an area in Illinois, basically around the Sparta, Illinois coal mines. Now, that particular coal belt extends across southern Illinois all the way into the edge of Indiana and all the way south into Kentucky. But it is in this particular area around Sparta that these are found. They're found in what is known as the Pennsylvanian coal deposit, going back 300 to 400 million years ago. And it is in those sediments from the, all the decaying trees and plant life at the time, before there was any kind of mammals and any kind of, it was, animals in the sea and plants on the land. And that amount of plants for that extended period of time is what gave us our, all of our carbon-based fuels, whether it be coal or oil or natural gas. All of those started with plants. And then with geology and time, they were buried, decayed, converted to carbon, depending on, pressure, whatnot, depending on it, whether they were formed into coal or whether they became oil, and et cetera. So these are found by the miners. The coal belt in that area is about 8 foot, the seam is about 8 foot thick. And then there is a shale capstone across the top of it. And they're found at the top, above the coal, right towards the base of the slate. And you can, if you're lucky, can find one still in the slate itself. Now, that makes a much more valuable specimen for them to be in the slate, because almost all of them pop out. And the miners have been taking them home in their lunch boxes since the 1860s and 70s. They became quite a novelty. Now, they are found in other places around the world, but usually no bigger than an inch or so. These most common sizes are the 2.5 to 3-inch size. Over 3-inch, it gets to be a lot more rare. The largest being about the size of a dinner plate, about 8 inches across. So what has occurred, so think about this. Okay, in the 1950s in Illinois, there was approximately 27,000 miners operating in about 150 mines. Well, you know how luckily we have shifted to other cleaner energies because, or replaced it. Not that there's still not a lot of coal there, but the coal is a high sulfur content coal. Now, it becomes important. Think about that, okay? Think about pyrite. And in a high sulfur coal, of course, it's known as then a dirty burning coal. And you have a heavy concentration of iron due to, again, the decomposition of the plant life and the geology. If you put iron and sulfur together, that's all it takes to make pyrite, which is an iron disulfide. In other words, 2 parts sulfur, 1 part iron gives you pyrite. Today, there is only 2,700 miners versus 27,000. And the number of mines they're working is almost down to the single digits. It's not much more than 10 or 12 mines. But they're still finding these. They can still find them, not like they did. And so they're working their way into the market. Okay, any of them that have an iridescence on them are much more valuable. The more iridescent ones, though, are going to have a higher marcasite content. Now, a marcasite is a polymorph of pyrite. In other words, it's the same chemical makeup, but a different crystal structure. It is that different crystalline structure that can create the iridescence that you may see on some of these, or not, because it is a very rare. I actually turned this at one point and saw, I thought, or wanted to see some iridescence on it. Let me play with the light here for a moment and just see if I can hope some iridescence into it. We have always room for some hope. Look at that. If that doesn't look like a sand dollar, and really, I did as a kid when I first saw these, I just thought for certain they were fossilized sand dollars, but they're not. So what happens is pyrite, of course, is isometric. In other words, it forms cubes for its natural crystal system. Well, for one, this particular coal seam where most of these are found is about 300 feet deep. But over time, geologically, that's a lot of weight and pressure. And the pyrite, which of course was going to be creating and forming itself no matter what, didn't have any place to go to make it its usual cubic square form. So all it could do was to grow out radially. In other words, under the pressure and heat, grow out to the radial sides with whatever little room it had. And that's how these they're not always perfectly round. They can be a little bit elongated one way or the other. They can actually be a little more silver colored. The desirable ones are like this. This is a very pyrite colored one. And it is it's not one of the more silver colored ones, which would have a slightly different chemical makeup for those. These are really neat. This is actually a much nicer quality ones than I see a lot of the others because, again, it's double-sided and well formed on both sides. And you can see these radial arms just like a sand dollar very well on this one and on this side as well, which is a good thing. It has almost a complete fringe or rim to it, except for just a couple of expected places missing. And it is nice size, as you can see in my hand. So if you don't have one of these, looking like that, it kind of looks like a scallop. So it can be anything you want it to be. Yeah, pyrite, fool's gold. Maybe you can fool people into thinking it's a sand dollar, fool people into thinking it's the sun. Imagine. That's pretty neat, though. Price on this, only $44. $44. You don't get the stand because I'm too cheap to give it to you. Other than that, but you can get a really neat stand. I don't really like the clear stand. I think a wood stand would look really good with it, but that's just my opinion. The Sparta coal mines. Only one I've ever found. So, in other words, all those different estates that I've come across over all those years, there really was not that any others that I came across. So, seem to be kind of rare, but you can find them anywhere on the internet. But also, then when I was doing that, I was looking at some of the variations of the quality and of the surface. So a lot of them will have all this, but then you won't be able to see the radio formation that you do so clearly and evidently in these. See that's important. So pay attention to that, and then look at the center disc, how perfectly round that is, and that is completely natural. Completely natural. Okay, now something else. Again, you never know what I'm going to show you. Out of all these items, think about all this. All these, every one that you've seen over all these years, none of them have I purchased. They have all come from our existing collection. That's quite a collection. 1190624. And what was I going to do if I croaked off? Of course, Raven would have loved to have had all the rocks around her, wouldn't have had any idea. Since you won't go on there to sell them, it's left it up to me. I thought, my son, a rock to him is how many times can he skip it across the water? Imagine what he'd think when he saw that. He'd say, oh man, Dad left me something really cool. I bet I can get 10 skips out of that one. Therefore, I am not going to leave them to my son. We need to do something with them prior to that. And I thought I needed to start 7 years ago because we're still at this process of me spreading them amongst all of you. Okay, so this next item, 1190624, check this out. Check this out. Yep, that is a tooth. That is a tooth. Now, if you ever wondered what that big dinosaur was in Jurassic Park that ate the genetically modified T-Rex, well, it was a mosasaur that came up out of the water, also ate those poor kids' babysitter. That was quite shocking, but good movie nonetheless. I was kind of surprised that she was the one eating, that they showed that and did that to her. She hadn't done anything wrong, just a misunderstood mosasaur is all it was. That tooth. Okay, so there's something else I'm going to show you that's important. For all of you that go on the internet and do your shopping, a couple things I'm going to show you to learn about this. All right. Many out there are fakes. Yeah. Not necessarily the tooth completely, but a lot of the teeth are assembled into jaw bones of the mosasaur, quote, jaw bones, jaw lines, and matrix, because of course they're more attractive in matrix than if the tooth was just loose. A lot of the teeth are also repaired. In other words, they're broken and they've been assembled back together. And that's usually real evident. You can always look across the shiny line and you can see that there's nothing there. But now, has the tooth been placed into this, and is this a mixture of concrete? Now, remember, and I don't have the Galena geode, but I'm going to tell that. I do have it, but I don't have time to tell the story today. That's going to be a story I'll tell myself soon again, just to show you that if I can be taken, anybody can be taken. All right, so the things to look for. Is this a homemade in the backyard with sand and placed into the matrix? Well, let's take a little closer look. If you did so, you would have to, and let me just move this away from here, and if we can just make this a little darker, we'll take a little, there we go, perfect, sir. Now, let's go in a little closer, because what you're going to start seeing is all kinds of microfossils, little other bits and pieces of shell that are in with this material. And when you see that, well, that kicks out. And then when you see things like that, you can even see the indentations on where the lid of the top of the shell left in this. Well, that's an awful lot to start trying to fake those kind of indentations, etc. So as we keep looking around on this, you're going to see, again, you can see that looks like part of an oyster shell. And then you have part of another shell. Lots more shells here. Yeah. That pretty much right there should tell you that this is original fossil stone, or at least it's a conglomerate of some sort with the sand grains cemented together. Could be silica, so there could be some age to it. So did they take this stone from somewhere and the tooth from somewhere else, cut out an area for the tooth, put the tooth in there, do all that? Well, then it'd be really difficult to complete that. Look at how you know how most, including our own teeth, have a hollow area in the middle of it, and you can see the indentation there. Well, this exact same fossilized sand material, if that's the case, is also in there. How does that happen? All right. When you have all the bells and whistles for testing cool stuff, and it's an excuse to have anyway, we're going to do one more test. With these fossils having been from Morocco, they are found in, known already in Morocco to be found in mostly a phosphorus type of matrix. Just as in the Florida fossils along the Peace River and the shark's teeth that are found, they all have a radioactive signature because the phosphate beds of Florida are world renowned for the mining. Yeah, Florida actually has a huge, but if you never drive down through Central Florida, some of the highest places in the state of Florida you're going to see are the phosphate mountains, basically. And what it is there's a certain layer of phosphate deposits. Now, along the path of natural radiation in the earth, potassium-40 is one of the 3 natural radioactive isotopes found. And part of getting to that point is, let's just say, through the phosphate, the element, and the phosphates family. That's why you have so many fossils that have a radioactive signature. And it's how I can tell megalodon teeth, whether they came from Sarasota, Florida, or whether they came from the Cooper River of South Carolina, is whether they are radioactive or not. Because the ones coming from the Cooper River, originally it was a area where the megalodons would gather for breeding season. And that's why, hence, the number of teeth found there. There's a lot of teeth and a lot of old other prehistoric horses, prehistoric manatees called dugongs, all kinds of other bones can be found throughout the Peace River, throughout the Myakka River. I know, because I've been down these rivers. I've picked up these items. I've also collected these items, and they tend to be dark because of the material they're found in. And they all have some type of radioactive signature because of the phosphate bed. So let's do something here. Let's take a look. Okay, we've done this before. We know that on the Geiger counter that the ambient amount of counts per minute we get, the CPMs you see, is anywhere from 20 to 50, even maybe 60 occasionally, but anywhere in that range. That's kind of what you can expect. So, of course, it's going up probably because of all the me putting that specimen right there. Okay, so let's do something here. Let's take the half of this spot fossil and let's put it just, you see the that and poor Matt, he's got waiting for his Geiger counter and has to wait a little while. Let's put that where we're shielding just a portion of it to where the tooth is the only thing that this is reading for the most part. And you can see you have around a 330, 370 in that range count per minute. So there's definitely a radioactive signature. Now, of course, that's completely and totally safe. Zircons often have a 500 or 600 reading, and you wear those as jewelry. Now, as we let it settle, because it usually, so we get an idea of the range. So up and down, somewhere from, 300 average. Let's turn this now to where we're just focusing on this portion and more of just what the matrix is. If there's a, well, let's just see what we get. Okay, so here's the tooth, and you can see we have a much higher reading. I mean, it's significant that it's outside the average range. So on average, at least 100 more counts per minute. What's causing that? Whatever this is right there. Whatever that is, it's a shell that has been there longer, most likely, of course, than the tooth, because it's really almost completely buried. Also, the other thing, the tooth has existing enamel that shields not only it being made radioactive, but also in the release of it. Remember, our outer layer of skin alone can stop out a lot of alpha radiation, and not beta and gamma, but alpha. So it matters. All right, what does all that tell me, and should tell anybody that can just think about it? That this belongs in this matrix, that the two together, this was not placed in that from somewhere else. You have the genuine, real deal. Fossil shell matrix with a genuine, original fossil tooth that is in that matrix. And just another, I've shown you so many ways to use a magnet when it comes to determining genuine rocks and minerals. Well, this is just another tool, device to use to determine the genuineness of a fossil. So something a little extra for you to think about. And I really have enjoyed using that Geiger counter for so many purposes. Okay, let me put that up. Oh, price. Yeah, that would matter. I don't really want to sell it because that's pretty cool, isn't it, yo? I have, yeah, it is awesome. I have a amazing price on this, especially when you see the size. So the bigger the teeth like this, the more expensive they are. This one, especially when you have the neat shell matrix in this, it's only going to be, though, a very affordable $78. Only $78. And you get the actual count per minute and a whole big old lesson with it. All right, let me put that up safely. I'll be right back. Something else new you have not seen. And I remember I said as time would go on, I keep running out of the other stuff. I keep having to show you better and better goods. Look at this. Look at this. Facet grade. And you've seen what they call party colors, the party color sapphires, the zone sapphires. I've been offering them and selling them for quite some time. Look at this one. So lots of neat things to notice and look at it. So if we look at it straight from above, you're going to see that, yes, indeed, it is six-sided. Look at that. 6 sides definitely belongs to the hexagonal crystal family, which is the family corundum belongs to. Now, let me, you can see the 6 sides there as well. Now, as I bring the light down to it, let's backlight this a little bit. And you can see very well defined not only how clean it is, but also the wonderful color zoning. Now, let me show you something else here. Let's look at this from another vantage point. And let's look at it from the end. Look at this. Now, look at that blue color in that. Look at how blue that is. Where's that blue coming from? That's the amazing thing. It really is. Remember that other dichroic sapphire I had shown before. Really neat properties. Remember the one I showed you also that was cut, that it had the blue only at the very culet, and it made the entire stone a gorgeous classic sapphire blue. So the only blue that you see in this is from the end. And then again from this end, and if I turn it a little bit at an angle, you can start to see a little bit of blue from there. Look at that. But turn full 90 degrees to the C-axis, and you have nothing but green with those blue lines of zoning. And that's where the blue is coming from. But you can also see, look at the clarity. Look at the clarity. That would facet an amazing stone. And this is why I've had it all those years, because one day I was going to cut it. And those one days are running out for as much material as I have to do. You can see a little blue up at that end as well. This is from a well-known deposit in Australia. And it is a really fantastic alluvial shape to it. And what I want to show you is, here you go. Since I have a new phone that's not all busted up on the screen, I want to show you, if you could just do a fantastic job of making that visible. There we go. There we go. That's exactly what I want to show you. And the color. So look at this. Sapphire Horse Gully Alluvials from no other than Sapphire, Arrawatta County, New South Wales, Australia. And of course, I've been in New South Wales. I've been up to Lightning Ridge, which is in New South Wales. And this is kind of to the east of it. But look at those. Tell me that crystal I didn't just show you not look like any number of these. Look at that one. There's another one. There's another one. This is, when you have comparisons like this to what I'm showing you, then you know it is spot on for the match. And then look at these. Here are some other ones. And look at that. So a perfect confirmation, and it's also, it would make a neat display pic next to the actual crystal for, like, as part of a display in a cabinet. That's the way I think. That's the way I did my displays, and have done them over the years, is with interesting things like that. So I have one other from there. So I have this one I'm offering for only, which is crazy, because if I cut the stone, it'd be worth it. But anyway, $68. $68 for that. All right. Now, let me just show you in my hand so you get to see how big it is. You can see that it would be a pretty decent size, and would make a really nice pear shape or something. Or, of course, personally, I like it just the way it is. And that's why it has stayed that way, and I haven't cut it all this time. But now part of me wishes I would have cut one of the two. Let's look at item number 1190924. 1190924, and I'll put the two next to each other just for a moment so you can see them side by side. And here you go. Another one, obvious, very similar, weighing a little bit more. So we'll take this one away so you don't get confused. And so I don't get confused as to where they go, but that's what they make scales for. All right. Again, another facet grade, another one from my personal collection. look at this. You can see the hexagonal shape to this stone, and the polish is such that, and you saw the polish from the picture on the phone, those are natural polishes. That is having been alluvially tumbled down a stream for a long time. But that gully where they're found, believe me, in part of Australia, there's not much water. So we're talking about geologically and historically a time frame that takes us back when there would have been water. Because if you take a crystal and the length of time it would take to get that rounded going down a stream is a long time. So there has to be a lot of history geologically to that, to allow that to happen. And if you actually look at where that is, there's very, very little. Okay, look at this. You're going to have fun seeing this down the C-axis. The C-axis is the long, lengthwise running axis of a crystal, whether it be quartz or whether it be tourmaline. It's the axis that runs down the length of a crystal. Now, look at the blue in this. So much so, I was looking at this, that it actually looked like a little bit of a trapeche. And if you're familiar with that pattern, trapeche emeralds, you just need to look that up. It's like where they alternate colors. You have carbon in between the pie-shaped crystals of an emerald, and called trapeche emeralds. There is also such a thing as trapeche corundum. Believe it or not, most of the trapeches are actually pinkish cashmere sapphire slices. Now, let's look at this another direction. Did you see the blue? Look at all that blue, but not this way. But then again, looking at it down the C-axis from that direction, you get to see the blue. But the reality of it, this is just about as yellow and greenish color as the other one, except due to the angles that the crystal is, you get to see a lot more blue than you do the other colors. This is where it is important as a cutter to orient the stone correctly so that you either bring out the blue and the yellow as a bicolor intentionally, which is fine. I've sold a lot of stones that were cut like that. Sometimes it's the only choice with stones from that region. Or you can orient it so that you can try to get just the blue, and maybe by cutting it in that direction, look at the clarity. I mean, that is absolutely facet grade. So you could maybe orient it that way. You never know until you get into cutting it exactly what it's going to turn out in the end. But that's the fun to it. That is the fun to it. So let me backlight this and light it from underneath at the same time. And wow, look at that. Look at that. That is pretty neat, huh? Wow. This would help explain to so many other people that if they watched this show from some of the other shows, exactly what's going on with their gemstones at times when they think something has happened to it, or maybe they're just looking at it from a different angle, or like when they're opals, their Ethiopian opals do something different. Well, they should have been told all about the hydrophane properties of them, so you don't go on that spooky trip down what happened to my stone? Same thing with emeralds, the oiling of emeralds, and you go and you mop the kitchen floor with ammonia water, and you had your ring on and you forgot your emerald ring, and then all of a sudden there's a big flaw in it that you never had seen before, and you thought you broke your emerald. Nope, it just needs to be sent to someone like me, who is one of the very, very few people that has actually been trained and taught by a Brazilian, the one that owned the topaz mine I told you that great, horrible story about the other week. He taught me how to re-oil emeralds the Brazilian way, which is the proper way. And it was, and so I have the right equipment, the right stuff to do it. And it's amazing. It's amazing how you can restore an emerald that you think might have had this big inclusion in it, and it doesn't. It actually doesn't. So anyway, this stone, keep it simple for you, same price as the other, $68. It's only within a few points. On average, if you're a cutter, due to the shape of these, you could cut a stone and expect to get about 50% of the weight. So, you know, they'd cut around carat and a half size gems, which would certainly be plenty large, and cover the value of them would, because they're going to be clean except for any zoning, and done right, you can turn zoning into something really positive, or just something very collectible looking, because there's nobody else doing that kind of cool stuff. Okay, now, I used to always finish my show with a zeolite. Well, we haven't done that in a while. So instead of finishing the show, how about drop a wonderful one right to you in the beginning of the show. Let me set up for that. I'll be right back. Now, just stare at that for a moment. Since you have a better understanding from me showing you how the crystals grew on the lid of that bottle of hydrochloric acid, you know, at room temperature in the cabinet, it took a few years, but those were amazing formations. And that's all it took for those to form. So when you see something like this, now that you have a understanding of, or a growing understanding of how things form, it really helps you appreciate specimens like this even more so, because everything has to happen in stages. What you have on this is all the same mineral. It's all stilbite, but you have different habits of stilbite. Habit references the type of crystal form that you might see the stilbite in. So here you have the stilbite, where the way it's grown is one right next to the other, creating, in this one you can see, if it would have kept forming this way, what they call a bow tie stilbite. And I've offered you those before. Here, just a wonderful, wonderful, nice big cluster of stilbite that it's coming from. And this, aesthetically, this is gorgeous. You have the stilbite surrounding it, including, look at that, beautiful reflective ones going all the way around. I don't know which is a more attractive angle. This is a incredible cabinet quality specimen. Meaning, not only is it large enough for your cabinet and considered, cabinet, but cabinet quality is a level of quality assigned to something that is a much higher quality than, what you might standardly buy as a specimen. This is a beautiful, beautiful piece, and stunning colors. You have some pinks in here. Can you mess with that a little bit and just see if we can get a little more pink out of these? There we go. There we go. That's it. Yeah. What'd you just do? You just iris different? Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Because what I wanted to capture was the creamy yellow color to this, and then the whiter pinkish color to those. And that's exactly what we needed. It is exactly the way our human eye looks at this. Now, see how these crystals are? So what's happened is one lays next to the other, formed right next to the other, no gap in between. And you get these unusual formations that look like that, but still they're the same crystal system. This is aesthetically extremely attractive. And there is around 60 different types of zeolites. And every zeolite, remember, has a certain number of molecules of water attached to the molecular makeup. That's what allows them to be part of the zeolite family. And zeolites are ever so important for everything from mopping up oil from an oil spill to straining out certain size microbes, certain size bacteria. They use zeolites in water treatment plants. You use zeolites in your potting soil. In potting soil, the zeolites, because they can retain and release water depending on what zeolite, depends on the project. Now, here's the other thing that I think is so beautiful about it, and it's one of the most attractive specimens for this celadonite, which is a variety of mica of all things. Look at these. And in these vesicles or amygdals, which is, remember, another fancy name for these little pockets, but yeah, they're called vesicles or amygdals. You might have heard amygdala, which they actually use that word for different things to do with medical reasonings. But in those little places, you have celadonite that has formed and grown. And look at that. I like the unusual shapes to it. It looks almost like Croy opal, but beautiful color green. Beautiful color green on the back of this. The white, I think, is something related in the naturalite family. I don't think it's gannardite, but I think it's another mineral altogether. All right, so as we look at this, as you've been told before by Barbara, by Miss Gabby, and others that have bought the zeolites, just how inexpensive they are compared to any place else that you've seen them. And it's because these are still going way back to that sea freight shipment that I had gotten. And so back then, there is like the Malad Quarry. Specimens I had gotten from the Malad Quarry, no more. That quarry's closed since then because it encroached upon the human suburbs, and too many people were playing and trying to eke a living and getting hurt, so they've had to shut down the quarries. Rightfully so. You can actually go and look it up and see it from the air and zoom in on Google Earth and see exactly the Malad Quarry and why they shut it down. And I can understand that, even though we miss out on wonderful specimens, but there's no way you can have a quarry like that in the middle of a place like Mumbai. I have a deal for you on this one. This one is from the Pune district, which really has some of the nicest of this type of stilbite. And priced, of course, well below the market. Only $118 on something like this. And you could easily, 2 or 3 times this because it is in amazing condition. These primary stilbites, look at, there's no nicks, no chips. That's what you look for. Even these other ones, they are in excellent condition. So this is a wonderful, wonderful cabinet quality, cabinet size specimen, and it is also just aesthetically very, very attractive. Now, not sure where to go to next, but I have plenty of choices for you. Let's look at this because I am surprised, because it's the only one I had like it, so that I still... Okay, let's look at 114-2023. 114-2023. Now, if you were walking along the beach and you stumbled your toe on this, all I would hear would be the unpleasant 4-letter words that would be... all that you could think of would be that. Your mind would be so clouded that you wouldn't really realize what you're stepping on. Look at that. Look at the inside of that. Little do you know now, going back in time, I know growing up in Sarasota and the beach, and I know as I think about it, and I was even into rocks then, but that was also at a time I was into girls and the beer. And so I think I prioritized, and rocks kind of lost out for a little while. It was a couple years there. But I tell you what, there were, when I think back, maybe it was just my mind, but there were so many rocks that looked like this. Well, you know why? Ballast Point, Tampa Bay. Ballast Point is where this came from. And as working at the rock shop, we used to get in these burlap sacks, and I used to have to process the Ballast Point material that he got in, and it was sharp. I mean, this, compared to the Withlacoochee coral, which I'm just going to show you a piece here, we'll get to in a moment, because Withlacoochee coral looks like coral. So this is a piece of Withlacoochee. We'll look at the other side in a moment, okay? Very coral looking like this, but there isn't any sharp, jagged edges like I feel like on this. This is just coarse, and when you get the other really branch type formations, they can be really, really sharp. Kind of like the sand spurs on the beach. Doesn't make the beach as much fun, but if you knew what some of these items are hiding, it wouldn't be so bad. If I only had it to all do over again. Now, this goes all the way back. And look at the edge of this. So you could take this with a diamond saw, and if you want to start slicing up from the base like this, you wouldn't lose that much. You would still have a nice piece, but you would have some beautiful sliced rings that you could easily make into a wind chime and other fun natural objects of art with very little effort. What is so unique and rare about this is it has not been sawed open. Almost all of these by the miners, quote miners, that's what they would do. They would saw them open and they would polish either side, and they'd get a lot more money for them because you can see the inside of them then. So to get a piece that is hollow and has not been, look at this, it hasn't even been sawed across the bottom. So completely natural, like the way it was sawed. Ballast Point in Tampa Bay, you wouldn't even be able to recognize it, that it was ever a place that held coral. It's just a spot in the water along the seawall now. That's it. It is extinct. There is no more. There is no more Tampa Bay coral to mine, to dig, to find. Nothing. Only what is left in collections such as mine. And this one is a fantastic piece. You know, I'm curious about that because I see, what is that? Is that, oh, it does go down in there. I didn't see that light coming up from out of there, but now I'm curious because anytime you have options, you can always light things up and like put a little light in here, and then yeah, there we go. Yeah, so you can put one of those little battery operated lights and have a little night light, a little light, you know, a little beam of light coming out of there at night. I don't know, that stuff, that'd be cool. That'd be cool, but that's just the way I think. Wow. So to think that that is 30 million years old. It was, looks like there was a, maybe a worm borer right there. I'll explain more about that in another piece I'm getting ready to show you in a moment. This piece, if you want it, you better grab it, $38. It's well worth that just to have for a representation of Tampa Bay coral in its, so to speak, natural form that has not been doctored, touched, polished in any way, shape, or form by man. Those are just hard to find. And believe me, there's been enough people that have stubbed their toe that are rock hounds that there's nothing left on the beach anymore to find. Nope. We all wised up to our stubbed toes. We're really tripping over nice, agatized, fossilized coral. Now, let me show you, when we talk about worm borers, let's look at item 119-1124. 119-1124. Okay, here is another item. If you were in the Withlacoochee/Shawnee River and you were swimming around and you saw this on the bottom of the river and you think, oh, that looks like a snapping turtle. I better stay away from that. That's if you're a tourist. If you're a local, you're going to say, oh, that's an ugly rock. I better not touch that. My wife might hit me over the head with it if I bring home another ugly rock. But if you have watched this show, if you are a Shawn, you're going to spin that rock around after you saw it in half and polish it and find this. Look at that. Yeah, even Yo just said, wow, look at that. And I say, polished, look at this. So this was sawed in half, actually by my friend John. John was the king of the Withlacoochee River coral diving. He had his license that was grandfathered in from way back when, and he since has passed away, but he would do it for fun because what he sold these items for is a fraction of what the value of them going for. Remember, he actually had a pontoon boat. He had it outfitted with a winch, a winch, to a hand crank winch and electric winch that he could bring up the really heavy big pieces, and then he would saw them himself. He would polish them himself. And every now and again, he'd get a really special piece. This is one of those every now and again. So let's again look at this from this way. Doesn't completely look like coral like so many other items of the Withlacoochee coral does. You have some of them that fossilized, some of them that parts of it that did it. But one amazing item that is left is right there. Look at that. Those in the know tell me that in the coral, when the coral was alive, a type of worm bores into the coral and creates that hole. Well, this just happened to fossilize, petrify, whatever you want to call it, and kept the remnants, or I guess I should say the reverse of what it had done to the coral. Look at that. So it actually had left chalcedony. There's chalcedony that replaced the coral around it, and you have one of the most amazing formations, and you can see it's been cut and polished on the same plane, and so the very top edge of it is polished. Look at that. This is a world-class piece of coral. Look at how the formation actually comes out and touches that as well. This is stunning, but what is even more stunning about it, and I showed Yo one of the pieces before the show, fluorescence, the fluorescence. Now, what I have found with this coral is it will be agate or it'll be chalcedony. Now, chalcedony is basically a type of agate. It's still a type of cryptocrystalline quartz. And what makes it chalcedony has to do with alignment of and the direction of the particular molecules of the silicon. So we won't get that far into it, but there is something that gives it away as being chalcedony, and that is fluorescence. Most of the time, what I found is fluorescence in these corals will just be along the very edge, what would be along the very edge of the formation of the coral itself. Not any of the interior portions of what looks like stalagmites and stalactites. None of this. It would only be along the edge. And you can see how translucent and beautiful quality. But not this piece. This entire piece fluoresces that greenish yellow color that I showed Yo. And it is stunning fluorescence. It is world-class fluorescence. Like no other of these that I have seen. It is completely one of those before and afters. You just don't have to look for it. It is all a lively chartreuse or green color. Look at the polish on the end of that. Look at the quality. You can actually see right there on the very end of that. That looks, yeah, and that really nice polish to that. That's odd. It is just like nothing else I have seen in one of these coral pieces. And then see all these areas that look like chalcedony on the exterior as well. Some of those fluoresce, but there is, let's see. Oh, here's a really nice area that look, you can see the original, what looked like some of the original coral right there as well. You have other areas on the exterior here as well that fluoresce. Look at the bottom of that. That is beautiful. But this is exceptional. And that is what makes it really unique and rare, is that hole. You can almost see, well, you can see how the worm actually might have bored that like that. Quite interesting. And then look at those little sharp edges right there that if you stepped on that, that would really, really hurt. So that would be my luck. Beautiful, rare, unique, one of a kind. All kinds of adjectives can be applied to this, and a fantastic price. There would be like no other that I have ever seen that was so much chalcedony and so much fluorescence. This is only an opportunity for those of you that really want something special. It's beautiful just as it is, but if you can show off the fluorescence to this, or even if you just show it off when someone, you get out the fluorescent light. You don't have to have a fluorescent room set up. But for those of you that do, all the more easier. Price on this, only $78. Only $78. A truly outstanding and remarkable piece. Now, let me show you the one that I showed and 119-1324. 119-1324. If we could capture fluorescence on the show, we have tried it. We've tried it. There's just something about the camera is not able to really pick up that wavelength of light. Let me see something here for a moment. All right, let me shine the light on here for a moment. Let's see. Let me kill my light and go ahead. We're going to be brave and shut that off. We do this every now and again there. If you'll kill that light for a second. Let me see. Okay, so we have, this is my super powerful fluorescent pinpoint light, and it's not showing the greens like we want. Thank you, sir. Yes. But we are always willing to try for you if we can. Okay, you can bring that. All right, now let's take a look. Now this is another piece of the Withlacoochee material, and here is the outside. You can see just how similar it looks, and there's no Tampa Bay material that has that type of coral growth lines in it. The Tampa Bay material is much, has a lot more ranch-like formations to it. All right, so this is a fantastic piece. Again, another one that John would have found. It has been sawed in two and polished, as you can see. Then, if you can notice, look at the little druzy, the little druzies. There we go. Take us on in. Look at that. That is a starry night sky. You have little micro druzy quartz on there. And that's not always seen. Like that other piece we just saw with a worm borer hole. That didn't have a beautiful chalcedony, but it didn't have druzy quartz down here. Now look at the edge. Look at the quality of this. This is transparent as far as the quartz goes. Look it back up in there. But here is, again, the other incredible thing, and very unique. Normally, it is just the edge that will fluoresce. Nope, not the case in here. Not only this entire edge fluoresces, boy, look at that translucency, but the entire piece, as we look at this, the interior, all of this out here, it and I mean green. It is incredible. It is a beautiful green. And then this is the one. Yeah, this is the one I showed you, right? There was an area. Where did it taper off that was blue?
Oh, that was too.
Oh, that was you. Oh, yeah, that was you. I showed that too. Okay. Yeah. It was this piece though, wasn't it, Teef? Yeah. So it was Latif that I showed it to. And there is besides all this being green, so you didn't see it. I got to make sure I show it to you. I'm going to show it to you here in a minute while this is up here. There is a part of this, and I forget where it was, but it trails off in a beautiful blue line further back. I know it was like in the corner. It seemed like maybe it was, it like went off like in a trail like that. But anyway, beautiful green, blue fluorescence as well. This is, again, a really striking piece, especially with the edge going up underneath there like that. And how would you like that for only... Oh, yeah, I'm going to make this a super deal. Never showcased it before, though. But let's do it for only, how's this, $28. Only $28 on that one. Now, let me show you this. Since Yo's sitting off in the dark here where he has to be for the camera. So you saw what this looked like before, right? Okay.
Hold on, wait.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh, look around.
Yeah, look at the edge there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then look at the areas back in there.
Oh, I see. Oh, it's so down here too. Look
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And then see the edge? See the edge?
Oh, man.
And then look at the purple down there on that one.
That's really cool.
Wow. Hold on. Okay, so I was just showing them this, and hold on. We just noticed that down here in this white area down here, so is purple fluorescence. The whole edge of this, a lot of this down here is green. This is the one that I showed Teef. Look at this. Okay, you saw this? Now look at this. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
You saw what it was before, remember? Yeah, green, and then there's the blue edge. And where is...
That is cool.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? So look at that. And then you can see the difference. Look back up underneath there. You see, that's where it's not fluorescent, but the rest of that is. And then look at that. Isn't that... And then, so it goes from that to that. Isn't that wild? So yeah, so I just showed him how the green and the blues to the colors in this, and the beautiful colors throughout this, including there was some purple. And this portion down here on this one was bluish. So, oh no, it's that purple blue. Yeah. So there's a lot of colors in there. There's a lot going on. So for those of you that like fluorescent stuff, again, especially for the money, a wonderful opportunity on that one. So several very cool coral pieces. Now let's take a step away from coral, and let's look at item 119-1224. 119-1224. I have a treat. Now, a lot of you love your opals, as I do, and but maybe they just have been a little too small for you along the way. Well, I have one a little bit bigger in the Koroit family. Take a look at this guy. Look at this guy. So I've been showing you the Koroit and the Koroit opal with the patterns. This is similar patterns, just a much bigger pattern to it. Look at that. The Koroit opal always looks like fire flowing through the veins, even little veins like that. Beautiful color in. Look at how big this one is. Now, it can easily be drilled. I'll drill it for you. Just have them for free. This one would be a tricky one, as thick as it is. But remember, there's no putting back the hole, but we sure can make them. Being this is ironstone, it is quite stable and pretty sturdy in a piece like this, so shouldn't be any problem. And then all you have to do is put anything, wire through it, or even a ribbon. Create your own bail. Look at that. Look at the angles. Look at the colors on the back of this. So it's really a double-sided piece in many ways. And this one, again, coming from my friend's mine in in Queensland, and Roddy. I always have to say it was the way he says it with his Australian accent. Yeah. So all his life, he was one of those, like me, he wanted an opal mine, and he did. He bought a Boulder opal mine, and a lot of the material, you get so jealous, you want that and all, but a lot of the material was just ironstone. Maybe some beautiful red jasper and ironstone, and that's fine. It's great stuff, but it's not what a miner buys an opal mine for. They want to find opal, and they want to find lots of it. So he had a lot of it cut into spheres and cabs and everything else, but that just barely pays the fuel for some of the equipment to run. It takes finding some good stuff to really get by, and that's a struggle. But what it also told me was, as much as I may want an opal mine, or of course, those days might have passed. He's still quite a bit younger than me, but it's not ever as easy as you think it's going to be. It's not ever easy riches. Nothing is easy, and most of the time, it's more disappointment. Because in the end, you still have to pay the bills. Even if you say, oh, I own an opal mine, doesn't mean you're making any money. It doesn't mean you're even making it. So, yeah. Oh, wait. One more item here. Item number 118. Oh, price on this? Did I give you a price? No. Wasn't interested in selling it. How about this? This is what's going to sound kind of kooky too. Not sure how I come up with these things, but if you want a really big stone at a really good deal, then that gem for only $58. Doesn't sound right, but that's what I wrote. $58. I'll stick to it, I guess. Let's look at item 1189324. Now, since I had showcased the coral, I thought I'd give another look at these because no one had purchased these. This is Tampa Bay material, and again, you can see how similar it is to that other Tampa Bay. You can see it's branch material. Look at the clarity and quality to this, what would be agate, right? Well, let me just take this right underneath the edge of the table. Take a look at this. Look at this. That is crazy.
It is wild.
That is crazy, isn't it? That's where the glue is. Right up there. Yeah, this is the one I showed you, Latif. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, this is the one. This is so fluorescent. It has to be put in the graphic there if you could. So it is so super fluorescent, and there is a line of blue fluorescence coming up and away from this as well, which is really unusual because it's like, well, how did the blue, why is it blue and other parts are green? Look at this. This is just such an amazing, I wish we could show this. Look at that. How can that be that color? I mean, that is simply, it goes from what you see here to a complete green.
Totally different.
Yeah. Complete green. And the blue, there's a streak of blue that goes right up here through this, but not all of it. The blue is only in an imaginary line for some reason, right up through the middle here.
Huh.
And all of this, including down in here, it is all fluorescent. All fluorescent. So it tells me that that's why it is the quality that you see that it is. As far as the transparency goes, because it is all incredible fluorescence. I mean, that's just, see, there's the blue coming in. Look at that. So you know how oftentimes I say, okay, it's fluorescent and it's just yellow fluorescence along the edge. Well, that is not the case in this one. And it is, yeah, all this. Everything that you see is brownish or tan turns green to chartreuse green. And right up here, make sure you look for it, right in the middle, right through here, there is a line of blue. And why? I don't know. I don't know chemically what is different. But again, if you are a fluorescent mineral lover, here is your strength, chance. Also, right along the very edge, there is blue as well. It's stunning. So I'm going to offer this pair for the same price that I had them before, because I have no room to go down any by way of the money. But what I didn't do before was I didn't actually check the fluorescence, which is odd because I normally love playing with my gizmos, but I didn't. And it is very fluorescent. I think there's actually also a little slight, because let's see, these are fossils in Florida. So let's see if there is any additional kind of radioactive signature to them, which would take it outside of a 60 range. I thought there might be a light one. Just ever so slightly. So that is pretty much par for the course. And the with the Coochie ones, very little as well, because they where the coral beds formed was long prior to the any phosphate environment that had occurred. Okay, let me show you. Since we're talking about fluorescence, item 119, 1424. Oh, price on those? $38. Only $38 on those. And you get the Riker mount box and the little label. $38. 119, 1424. Okay, now take a look at this. I only have one or two of these left. This is a pink apatite. This is the genuine, real deal pink apatite. This pink. Now, if you don't see so much pink, this one is a light pink. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. This, though, the pink in the sunlight, don't put it in windows or whatnot because it can disappear. Now, I definitely see pink with my, oh yeah, I see pink there. Okay, if you ever want to find apatites in this muscovite mixture, and it's from Gilgit, Pakistan, put a fluorescent light to it. They glow yellow. I mean, incredible, incredible yellow. Bright yellow, unmistakable yellow. So this beautiful, beautiful bright yellow, then this as well fluoresces. It's another portion of apatite here. Then you have feldspars, you have wonderful muscovite, and there is another little crystal also. There's something real unique about these. There is such a thing. So there contains feldspathoids, or like feldspar, except feldspathoids. And in this case, nepheline, sodalite, or cancrinite will react to acid and create a gelatinous silica. Huh? Yes. So what I found was, if you ever want to see something different by way of fluorescence, get an item like this. You see this whitish material right here? And there's a couple other places around on this. What that is, it actually feels like wax. And I thought, well, there's no reason for wax to be there. See, right along here too. And in looking at it closer, it looked like it was natural. So there's also some around here. So I was doing some research, and sure enough, I put in waxy gelatinous silica mineral, and up comes apparently something kind of new to me, feldspathoids. And in this case, I think it's actually nepheline of the three that I mentioned, which we never know what runs through these pockets. If there's something that can run through a pocket and create etching in morganite, in the beryl family, with that type of hard to dissolve mineral, then certainly coming through another pocket at some point, there could be strong acidic solutions that create a gelatinous silica. And I quote, unquote, gelatinous silica. And it fluoresces white. So instead of me cleaning that off, thinking it shouldn't be there, It should be there. I left it there, and it's quite visible. You can actually see some of those areas, and it's different. It's different, and it's supposed to be there. Irregardless, that's a really nice appetite. And that said, let me show you one more. I think it's going to be like the last one. I have one large one at home, but the appetites aren't that great. But let me show you. Price on this. It is a incredibly discounted price. I don't know why. Just because I want, if no one had gotten one of these pieces of the rare pink apatite, then this would be one to get in on. Let me look at the back. Oh, all these are neat little crystals too, by the way. Look at, yeah, you can see them. Now, these are probably a type of hornblende, like augite or one of those type of amphiboles. Not completely sure, but I'll leave it up to you to do some of the homework. But yeah, so there's additional crystallization there. And this displays really well on its own, sitting just like that. But you can see that well-defined hexagonal shape to the apatite, which has got quite a good clarity to it as well. So price on this, I'm going to make it a incredible value. Only $48. $48. So it'd be kind of silly for someone to pass that up if you want to add to a fluorescent collection or to a rare mineral collection. Let me show you item 1188224. Here is another one of the very last ones. I've never showcased or shown this one before. And you can see right there and there, two large pink apatites. This is a cabinet size specimen. And for what this is anymore, by way of quality, some might not consider it cabinet quality, but it's also not thousands and thousands of dollars, which is what it would be. Look at the little pocket down there. Not sure what's going on there, but wish I was a little bug to crawl down in there. I know that that wasn't to do with specimen preparation because they could not get back in there. Where in the world does that go? I don't know, but I see crystals down in there. So anyway, look up here. You can actually see the pink color tone to these and the clarity. So you can see that some specimen preparation has been done, but unless they had x-ray vision, I'm not sure how they saw through that would have been there. Look at how large that is. This is, wow, look at the clarity to that. That is quite the specimen. Look at the pink to that. And look at that pocket going that direction too. So it makes me want to do a little bit more specimen preparation. I wonder if someone was looking to see if they'd find another crystal. Maybe. If I see something run across down there, that would be add a little excitement to the show. Okay, here we go. Here's some of that. Why would that? See, it's very waxy feeling. It's some more of that gelatinous silica. It sounds like a monster out of a 50s sci-fi movie. But it's real. It fluoresces, and it was not added. It is something new that I have not seen before. Okay, here's another crystal of apatite. To find them, all you do is put a fluorescent light on them, and they will, well, I'm going to show this one. All right, so you see, I'm going to show this to you right now. Okay, there's the crystal right there, okay? You see the color it is? Look at that.
Ooh.
Look at how yellow that is.
Hit right up.
And see the white gelatinous silica?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the blue?
That's good.
Yeah, the blue around it. But look at how yellow that is. And then I'm going to put my finger right there. And there it is. So I just showed them. And it is as yellow as you ever had thought, as a banana. There we go. Yellow as a banana. And it stands right out. Same thing these have done. I've already checked them. They are super yellow. And do it. Get your eyes get used to at least 2 minutes in a dark closet. Let your eyes completely get used to the darkness. Then use a UV light, and sometimes you will find the smallest, tiniest little crystals of apatite you would never find in any other way, and only because they light up yellow. And you'll find them tucked down in between these muscovite blades. Really, really interesting to see. So you can see, relative to these tweezers, just how large. Look at how well formed that crystal is. This is beautiful cabinet quality. Also, you can remove this yellow material. Sometimes it's xanthine, or how they pronounce it, which is a decomposed material. And some people leave it there, others like to remove it, but you can use a electric toothbrush. Works great for doing things like that. So I'm really curious about this this little vesicle pocket to nowhere, and as I look back in there, and if a little head pops out and you hear me scream, and imagine I would go actually crawl in my belly in mines, and some creepy little thing crawling out of there would probably spook me more. Look at, I don't know how anybody could use a Fordham tool or a Dremel and try to excrete down there. So that's kind of natural. That is something really unique, still left to be discovered. Let's look into the apatites there. Really nice form and shape to those crystals. Look at that. Okay, so price on this, if you could even find them from any kind of other dealer, yeah, that would be difficult to start with, but if you did, it would be at a serious price. I am going to put this on a sale price, even though I've never showed it before. I need the money. Show me some money, and I will show you a bargain. And right now, that bargain is only $177. $177. This is pink apatite. It is one of the rarest colors of apatite outside of purple. There is no red apatite. I just want to clarify that. There is no such thing as red apatite. Pink apatite is the real genuine apatite, unless you could show, unless someone showed me something I wasn't aware of. Other than that, pink apatite is about as red as it gets. That's a really special piece. Item 119-1624. 119-1624. This might also be called, could be called a fluorescent lovers show, because of some of these items that I have featured for you have nothing but the property of fluorescence as a standout portion of a description. This is one of them. Ruby and zoisite, yeah, these rubies glow beyond stop sign red. It's a double neon, triple stop sign red. That is, of course, the presence of chromium in those. Now, the rest of this, you can see the green zoisite here, but the rest of this dark material, actually very dark green. It's pargasite. Pargasite. And it doesn't, well, it fluoresces sometimes. But what mostly fluoresces is the ruby and the zoisite. The zoisite, remember in that specimen last week, turned actually a bluish gray color. Look at the back. This is what I wanted to show you. It wasn't so much this side. It was this side. It was the quality of the ruby. Most of the time, what they call annealite. So the Maasai people, instead of saying ruby in zoisite, of course, they came up with their own name, and it fits, annealite, because in the word anil means green in their language. So anilite, because mostly what you see is the green zoisite, except this piece is unique for the fact that there isn't much green zoisite and a lot more pargasite. The first person that originally found this deposit came upon the deposit and thought he'd found millions of dollars. It was in the 1800s, and rightfully so, I would have also, until he later discovered there was not any of it that was gem quality. But in the world of this quality ruby, to get one this fine of a color is one of the best colors I've seen. Let's look a little closer and you'll see, and go ahead and kill that for a second there. And we're going to look into this. Look at that. Look at the reds, and then look at the translucency and transparency to this ruby. It is of a lot higher grade of quality. Oh, perfect. Look at that. And actually, I've seen a lot of rubies faceted that were of this quality. If it's red, it's ruby, and therefore they can use it in commercial jewelry. I've seen a lot of rubies faceted that were just as translucent as this. Thank you, sir. Look at that. That is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful material, especially for relative to the other qualities of the ruby and zoisite. So if you wanted to have fun and slice this piece up further, I found this in Kim's. You know, we made a deal a long time ago. She got what she called the butts, the end pieces. The end pieces of all the rocks, you know, in other words, the last slice. Well, somehow she thought that one this thick was the end piece, and it disappeared off my saw frame. She thought that I couldn't, I guess, slice this any thinner than this. Right. So she also doesn't like me doing the cheesy polish spray, which you can see it is on this side, and only one coating on this side because she probably was fussing at me at the time. But yep, found this in her little basket of end cuts. She doesn't know I found it back because I should have never gotten there to start with. But this is a fantastic piece. And look at this. You can even see some large, beautiful pargasite crystals up there. So lots of things going on. The fluorescence is outstanding. I'm going to show Yo in a minute because he'll appreciate it right there. Yeah. I get more oohs and ahs from him than I do Dave. So and Latif gives me great oohs. You know, Latif used to cut stones, I tell everybody, and also, yeah, he knows what something is. He can appreciate the good stuff. Price on this entire piece, only $77. Only $77 on that one. Now, yep. Oh, clock's ticking out on me, but I got time for a few more. Let's look at item 119. 0724, 1190724. And let's see what that gets us. Oh boy. Take a look at that for a moment. Check this out. All right, you saw what it is?
Yep.
Look at that.
Crap.
Look at that.
Red.
Look at the red in there.
Oh my God.
That's the chromium.
Like red and
yep.
red.
Yep.
Jesus. Oh
Yep.
my God.
And then see the pargasite is a blue gray.
Right here.
Yeah, look at that.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is cool.
Isn't that cool? And then look at it. This little spot's green. Let's see. There's nothing. Yeah. See that. So one more thing back to this. I just was looking at. See this little spot right there. Actually, fluoresces bright green for some reason. It's not. You know. There's no other reason. Nothing else does. Right there, bright green. Look at the quality of that ruby.
Oh.
I mean, that's beautiful stuff. And those crystals. That's a great item. Okay. This. Look at this. This. Those of you a while back, I think Miss Penny got a whole flat of epidote, and I think Mr. Anthony, which I worry about Mr. Anthony, I've not heard from you in a while, and I might have to check in with you. But let's hear a shout out from you there, Anthony. Hopefully nothing bad has happened your way. All right, he got, I think, an entire flat of the epidotes. This is beautiful because it is mixed in with these quartz crystals, just in a nice, even fashion. And yeah, then this is it's not an officially recognized name. This is called pistacite, named after the word for pistachio because of that greenish color you see. But what it is it just has a high epidote content in it as well, but it's mixed in with other rocks and other material as well. But that's not an official name, but a name that geologists use in general to describe a heavy epidote laden silica type of rock. All right, then here, look at this. If we come in close, I'll use my magnifier here and see if we can't give you a look at bisylite, which is a mineral that, there we go. You see all those little fine hairs? Yeah. So bisylite is a unique mineral. And so if you see that on your epidote specimens, you'll know what it is. And here, unless you really look at it with magnification, you don't see those fine little hairs is what sets it apart. So there is, without a doubt, definitely some other minerals that can be found with this. Here's some more of the bisylite here. And you have really beautiful quality in a unique form. Here, this is what I want to show you. One of these quartz crystals right here. Look at that quartz crystal. I have not seen quartz crystals that have this type of growth on them. It looks like a growth. Let's see, where is that guy at? Here it is. This is a really unique exterior, and it's not etching. It is a kind of like a skeletal type of formation on them. And there is on a lot of them that same type of exterior. Yeah, you can see that. Look at the one in the background there, the exterior of that. It's, see that? Look at that one. And that one. They seem to all have this irregular type of surface. Also, you're going to find, see the little red spots on that one? That's hematite. I see some little bisylite crystals there. This is one of those you can have a lot of fun with and explore for a long time. And you have some of the classic formations for epidote other than just included in a quartz crystal. Yeah, see, you have these wonderful these sprays that look like a fan. And beautiful, beautiful color right there. And there's some more of the bisylite. Really a unique piece. Price on this? It is not as much as the look of it wants to be, because it certainly has the look of something of a lot more expense. A lot more expensive than only $58. Only $58 on that guy. Now, let me see what I can find for you real quick here. And let's look at item 118-9024. 118-9024. And this is one that I can't believe it didn't sell. Oh, wait, there's a couple more I want to get to here. Oh, wait, skip that one for a moment. Hold on. I want to show this one. Let's look at item 119-1024. 119-1024. I was going through my vanadinites and I came across this beauty and I thought, I guess I will offer this to someone if they're looking for vanadinite in particular. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the size of that crystal. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful vanadinite. And look at that angle. There is a wonderful display angle right there where you get in those incredible colors. You also have the goethite down here. It could be some montramite, but goethite most likely. And what I like about these is like when there's just a little, look at this little vanadinite crystal just sitting right there by itself with all those goethites around it. Isn't that cool? Look at this piece. That is a really beautiful color. It's heavy because vanadinite is a lead ore as well as having vanadium, so the lead really adding to the weight of the piece. Here is another side to it that, again, that cluster, very attractive with that big crystal anchoring the whole bunch of them. Yep. And then certain angles, I know it's in the pocket, the direction in the pocket that it faces, they develop this get this surface coating. Not sure, no one has figured out how to remove it. It can probably be polished off, but there is plenty of angles to this other than that if you don't like that, but there's nothing completely natural, nothing wrong with it. That is a beautiful angle. That is even a gorgeous angle. No top or bottom, right or wrong to it. It is all attractive. And this, for that kind of look in a vanadinite, that's when it gets expensive, but not from me. $54. Yep, only $54.
Well, natural.
Yeah, completely natural. Completely natural like that. And, that's why different things grow at different, settle out at different temperatures. Yeah, we're going to grow some crystals on this show as well. When I got all the stuff together, I just need to get my act together to follow up on that. Hold on. Let me see here real quick. Oh yeah, hold on. Oh, wait, item 119-1524. Hold on. Oh, yeah, wait, I got time. Hold on. I got a minute. Only take a minute. You guys know about both of these crystals I'm getting ready to show you. The only thing you don't know about is how beautiful this actually looks. Look at this. This is stunning. Look at that. This is pyrite, and what you think might be quartz, no, that is some of the most fluorescent calcite you've ever seen. It is a pink-orange fluorescence, and I'll show you that in a minute here. And then, hold on really quickly. Let me show you. Let me get this. What I thought was just little kind of common quartz, massive quartz. No, let me show you this area because it didn't fluoresce. So I thought, well, what am I looking at here? Look at this. This is all quartz, little quartz crystals with some little pyrites, and they're all well-formed quartz crystals. They're just small. They're just really small, and as I turn them at the correct angles, you'll see that. Look at that. You can see the perfectly formed little crystals. And now, these are called nailhead calcites, and they are called nailhead for this reason. And that is what makes there also is some of what they call lenticular calcites, which are calcites that look like half a lens. Like this would be a lenticular one. The nailhead ones, though, have, see these three sides to them? Let me get a pointer. Hence, it looks like the head of a nail. Yeah, see this? So you have 1, 2, 3. And there are many others here that, there's another one right there. Let me get the lighting right, or you can. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Nailhead calcites, lenticular calcites, and these stunning quartz crystals in between. Look at those. These are really well formed, and you see some other quartz crystals scattered around. And then let me show you how big this is in my hand relative to my hand and how attractive that is. Look at that big pyrite back in there. And the amazing thing is the fluorescence. It is striking fluorescence. There's one side, there's another side. It is from the very famous Casapalca mine in Peru. And just beautiful. Just beautiful. Let's look at one more spot right up here, sir. Yeah, there we go. Let's look in right there. And look at those, because there can also be some fluorites that could be mixed in as well. And that's what you look for as an alternative when you see these items besides the quartz. And so those quartz, it's just not massive quartz. It is all crystalline as well as this whole grouping of them. That's a beautiful, beautiful, very pretty piece, and an excellent pricing on this one as well, because how about for only $68? Only $68 on that guy. And again, incredible fluorescence. So, all right, I think that our clock is running out on us, even though the inventory hasn't. So let me pick up a few things and I'll be right back with trivia. All right. Instead of regular trivia, we have done this before. We are playing the What Am I game today. And we have 4 items, and let's just see who gets the most right. There's no such thing as wrong, because as long as you're trying, yeah, that is all that matters. And in this case, I would be really surprised if anyone gets them all. So more like I'm looking for 2 out of 4. 2 out of 4 would be good. So, all right. Latif's on the camera now, so we're just going to give you a quick, brief look at each of these up close. And, all right, so here we have this, and then I'm going to backlight it so you get to see the color. You get to see crystal form, shape. And this one I may offer for sale, but I wanted to do this with it first. So let's see if anyone. And now all of these you will have seen at some point or another in my show, and I would have talked about them at some point. So they're nothing that you don't have some idea about. Well, that's actually nice specimen right there. And now here is, so we'll call that one number 1. Here is number 2. And yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, look at the exterior of it. I might end up making this for sale too, but I don't know. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool crystal right there. I have to make sure I don't slip up and say what it is. Okay, so that's number 2. Here's number 3. Now, this might be a little bit more difficult, but once you know and have seen what this is, then you know what it is. And yes, that crystal is bent. This type of material is known to be able to form like that. And it is a silvery gray. There is no, it's completely opaque. And then the 4th, item number 4. What am I? Let me take a little light off of that. Okay, there we have it. 4 items. Best of luck. And in this case, luck might be required, but it's not so difficult that you can't figure it out, right? I had a great time with you. We had to have some mix around some help to bring it to you, but other than a big mess in front of me, pulled it off just so we have another show for you each week. And I have some more really cool treats. Of course, Latif says, yeah, did good today, Shawn. You didn't show much of anything less than $40-$50. They kind of tease me when I get to showing items that are, $10 or $20. But no place else here at Gem Shopping can you find anything that inexpensive. So there has to be a place where you got to start somewhere, because even the finest of gems started off their life as just some mixed elements, and Mother Nature whipping them all together and then letting Mother Nature sort out her mess afterwards. And it's really amazing that in one vug, pocket, geode, opening, whatever you want to call it, how many different minerals can crystallize in one small area. And so, the first batch may crystallize out of a saturated solution. And when that's come and gone, okay, let's say you have some quartz crystals that grew from that. Next comes through some, a lot of carbonated water. What does that lead to? Calcite. So calcite forms on top of your quartz. Then you have something that comes through and replaces the calcite with a pseudomorph of the calcite, of another mineral that doesn't form in that same crystal system that looks like a calcite, but it got replaced, just like azurite is replaced by malachite, just like aween is replaced by garnardite. It can happen, just like out of the sci-fi movies. Then there comes a gas into the pocket. Well, we know from gases, and I've seen it myself from around the fumaroles out in New Zealand. You can see them in Yellowstone. You get sulfur crystals. You get a whole nother host of different crystals that form from gases that pass through a particular pocket or area. Remember, geology does not happen in the blink of an eye. The blink of an eye in the world of time and geology is millions of years. And so geology often has all the time in the world, unless all of a sudden it's thrust up into a huge volcanic explosion. And so by showing you all these different items and different things that can form at different times, it really helps you put together an entire picture of what exactly is going on beneath our very feet, and how and what it takes to just bring you a stone that is anything better quality than an opaque, misformed crystal is truly Mother Nature's object of art. So it makes you appreciate when you see a fine quality ruby, just how rare that is. Because imagine that poor guy. It'd be like me. I mean, I went to Chunky Gal and I cracked rocks I don't know how long, and that very first day. And it was just when I felt defeated and was coming off the mountain, I cracked one more rock. And there was the first ruby that I'd found there. So my very first trip, I was almost skunked. I was beginning to believe there were no rubies left at Chunky Gal. But then I went back about 8 more times because I found one little ruby. That was hope. And each time I got better at finding what was there all along. It wasn't, what, the rocks don't have to stand up and do a Irish jig to let you know they're there. No, they're basically there not to be found. And they're very, very good and sneaky at doing that. And it's up to a prospector, a miner, a hobbyist to be able to go back enough times that you figure Mother Nature out just enough to find just enough. And that day I cracked that one specimen and it split right down that middle of that beautiful pink sapphire perfectly. I couldn't have hoped for a better specimen, because actually if it had not split on both sides evenly like that, if it had just gone to one side, yeah, it'd have been cool, but it would not have been nearly as rare, unique, and unusual as getting it to split that sapphire right down the middle to where there's two halves to it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll bring it back in at some point for you to see, because it's by far probably the most valuable item I've ever found from Mother Nature. And truly, you could crack rocks for the rest of time and never find anything that nice on the mountain. But if I'd have given up after not finding anything until that very last little ruby, that sparked the fever, and that's all it takes. So Mother Nature doesn't give up her treasures easily, and that's a good thing, because if she didn't hang on to them like she did, then they wouldn't be treasures, would they? Nor would they be lost treasures. Now, I'm going to work on, and maybe for the very next show, I'm going to have, bring it in and offer it for sale, but that anhydro star blue sapphire. That is a treasure. And I just can't keep it to myself any longer. If I don't offer it for sale, I at least want to show everyone, because it is a amazing, amazing piece. And I obtained it. Well, I won't tell you that part. But let's just say it came in an estate. And this is like those rhodonites and galena that passed through three other well-known mineral dealers' hands. I mean, well-known. And it's all in what you know. One of them dealt in nothing but mostly quartz. The other was mostly United States minerals. And the other was a mix of minerals and pretty much nothing of Australian origin. So even no matter how much you think you might know, have been in the dealing in minerals for decades kind of thing, you can completely feel like a novice when you come up against something that you've never come up against before. And rhodonite and galena from Broken Hill, Australia, just was one of those. And so it kept being deferred to the next level of mineral dealer, to where it was offered to me. And I'm sitting there all quietly thinking, are you really going to sell me those, not knowing what they are, yet aesthetically they're so beautiful that it really didn't matter what they are as long as they're natural? And they did. It's because of what they didn't know. They didn't know. And so they didn't have any faith in going any further. And this is still, it wasn't so long ago. It wasn't like before Mindat or before you figured. No, it's just like, well, I don't know what this is. Let me just pass on the next guy, pass on the next guy. I was in the right place at the right time just as all of you are, to get these items. Because in the world of minerals, I could take every weekend and go to a mineral show somewhere over all these years with this much inventory and set up and sell to strangers. I didn't want to sell to strangers. I wanted to sell to the community and family that I've been part of here at Gem Shopping for 16, going on 17 years. And many of you I've known for almost that entire length of time. So that's the group that I felt most comfortable with to share my collection and my objects of art that Mother Nature has been so generous in sharing with me. So I thank you. I thank you for your continued support of this show and your enjoyment of it as well. Please, all of you, you're welcome to send in comments regarding anything. You don't have to answer the trivia. You can ask any questions you want as well. Again, don't have to partake in any of the trivia, but it would be fun to see the 4 items, how well you do on them. And again, there's no, I made it such that I will be really surprised if everyone gets them all right, but not completely and totally caught off guard, because there is those of you out there with that level of knowledge. You just have to kind of pull it out of that brain somewhere. And so I wish you all well with it, and I look forward to hearing back 1 through 4 on your answers. And I hope all of you have a great week. Try to stay cool. Don't get overheated. It's way too easy to do. And update on the orchard. All those peaches, the woods are getting them all. Between that and all of a sudden it rains a lot, and some have a fungus, and I just sat there and watched deer eat some more of them the other day. But that's okay though. That's okay, because at least I'm giving back to Mother Nature, because I definitely have taken from the ground. So it needs to be paid back somehow, right? Paid back to the little animals that come out of the woods, and completes the circle. Thank you all so much, and I truly can't wait until I see you next Monday. Cheers.